Well, we almost made it out of our houses and back into pubs for trivia night. Thankfully, we can have a great pub trivia experience at home thanks to Sly Fox Trivia. Bonus fox fact: the smallest fox, the fennec fox, weighs less than 3 pounds fully grown. That's the size of a kitten. The folks at Sly Fox know that the pursuit of knowledge can lead us down a magnificent path of discovery and wonder. And they also know how great it is to prove you know something that someone else doesn't. Step into the intellectual arena with Sly Fox Trivia, a free online trivia league that sees you and your cleverest friends duke it out with the best trivia teams the world can offer. League nights are Monday and Thursday, with special theme nights throughout the year. Head to their website and sign up today, slyfoxtrivia.com, and prove you are the slyest fox in town. Hello, my beautiful brainiacs. We have a very special Your Brain on Facts for you today. I actually have a live recorded guest for the very first time in 100 and almost 180 episodes. I'm actually going to be talking to someone in the moment. Crazy, I know. And what's even crazier is this is the host of one of my favorite shows. Not a word of a lie. I'm someone I was really hoping to get to work with eventually, and eventually is now. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome from Pretend and Criminal Conduct, Javier Leiva.
Yay, this is me. I'm Javier Leiva. And for those of you listening to this on my feed, the voice you're listening to, it is not Delilah, is Moxie LaBouche from Your Brain on Facts, which is an amazing podcast. And what we call this in the business is a simulcast, because I'm playing this on my show. She's playing this on her show. So you should check out both shows. They're both very good shows,
100%.
very different shows.
A good use of your time to listen to both Pretend and Your Brain on Facts.
So Moxie, why are we teaming up today? Like, what are we up to?
Oh, I think it could have something to do with the fact that we're both inquisitive people who found a topic that we like. I like educating people about stuff they might not know. You are all about the scams, the cons, and the criminals. So today we're here to educate people about stuff they may not know about various kinds of cons and scams.
Yeah, these are some of our personal favorite cons and scams, and in no particular order either. So I foresee us doing more episodes like this because there's so many different types of cons out there.
Yeah, you send me that list. I'm like, wow, we're spoiled for choice.
Well, we have plenty of cons to talk about, so why don't we just jump in? You want to go first, Moxie? Which con really drew your attention?
A pig in a poke, which is not only an idiom, but it was a particular type of scam. And this is one that people had been doing for centuries. You can even find it written about in 1555 in the writings of John Haywood. And this is in almost Middle English, so bear with me. I will never buy the pig in the poke. There's many a foul pig in a fairy cloak. If you could see how this is spelled, you'd understand why I read it so slowly. Now, I should explain, a poke is another name for a bag. So how this scam would work would be somebody on a street corner in a city, say, picture London, that's fine, will stop a passerby and say, hey, I have this lovely fat piglet. It's the last one of the litter. I just need to get rid of it. It's here in this closed burlap bag. Trust me, it's a great pig. I'll sell it to you cheap. Give me half a crown and a farthing. I don't understand the old British money. It's very confusing. And they'd sweet talk the person. They would make the sale. But sometimes the piglet would turn out to be a bundle of rags or some inanimate object. And that version of the scam didn't work but so well.
Because pigs wiggle, right?
Pigs are very, very animated and very vocal animals.
I've chased a pig once in a farm, and it's not actually. I chased a pig, and like maybe 5 other grown men chased a pig in a pig pen, and it's impossible to catch a pig.
They are not to be trifled with, because I've raised some for meat, and they are absolutely very hygienic. Unlike my goats, they actually would leave the trough area to do their business, but they are so strong. And if they want to go, they're going. And that's That's all there's nothing you can do about it.
So back to the pig and the poke. If you're going to, put a pig in a bag, where's the scam?
Well,
where's the scam part?
Well, you're selling someone a pig, but there isn't actually a pig. They had to up their game when the inanimate object in the bag wasn't working anymore. People do catch on to that eventually. And so the favorite thing they would use instead of an actual valuable piglet would be a stray cat. Cities are lousy with stray cats. Now, how a stray cat puts up with this business and doesn't immediately give itself away, I do not know. I owned 7 or 8 of the things, and they would not be tolerant of this activity. But it worked enough times that it was able to cement itself in our language 500, 600 years ago. The con man would sell you this pig in a poke, and he would skitter away with your hard-earned money. You would open the bag, and a screeching stray cat jumps out of it, which is actually
that's where we get the expression.
We get the expression to let the cat out of the bag.
Well, and that's what I love about this episode in particular, is that we're talking about these classic scams that may sound really outdated, but there are modern versions of it. And the next one that I'm going to talk about is a scam that seems so outdated that it would never make it on Pretend, a show about con artists. It's called salting. Have you ever heard of this? Salting the mind?
I've heard of it in terms of I've salted a tip jar before, because if you go ahead and put $2 in the tip jar, you'll get tips. When the tip jar is empty, you don't get any tips. So I've salted a tip jar. Is it analogous to that?
Yeah, actually, that's a really good analogy. And so back in the day, back in the gold rush, I guess, people would actually go into a mine and just fill a shotgun full of gold dust, and just shoot it into the walls so that it gives the appearance that this is like a rich ore.
This is a vein.
Ready to, this is just, you're going to make tons of cash. And so people would fall for this all the time. A novice probably wouldn't even know the difference between real gold and salting the mine. But how does this relate to today? Well, I was trying to think about it, and I'm like, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. That is today's version of salting the mine, because investors and scammers are always looking for these opportunities to salt the mine, to get people to buy or create this illusion of this gold mine when there really is none. And especially with cryptocurrency, which is such a concept that is so hard to describe.
It's this thing everybody's hearing about, but they don't really understand. So it is a very good analogy. And then they rush right out to do it. I've heard a great quote. I use this on Facebook at least once a day. NFTs are beanie babies for libertarians. And I barely understand it, but I know it's funny.
But it makes sense somehow, and it's funny because it's funny. We laugh about it, but there are real people setting up what they call initial coin offerings, which is an ICO, which is how you get introduced to cryptocurrency. And they're fake. They're baloney, and people are investing their hard-earned cash and losing tons of money. So I guess my tip is, you know what? If you don't understand it, if you don't understand cryptocurrency or Bitcoin and stuff like that, don't invest in something you don't fully understand yet. But you should look into it. It is really interesting. And I think back, I was at a Halloween party, I want to say like 7 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And we're in this backyard and this guy is telling me about Bitcoin. And I remember getting in the car and driving home and laughing at my wife. I was telling him, Bitcoin, are you kidding? Who the heck would invest in that? And, I probably should have invested back then. But taking my own advice, if you don't understand something, don't do it.
I mean, Bitcoin mining has the environmental impact of whole countries. I've forgotten which country, because 10 years ago, I was struck by lightning. So every now and again, the file is 404. I'll go to reach for some information and it's just plain not there. But no,
and you're not kidding either.
I'm not joking in the slightest. No, that's why I have the tagline for my voiceover business, lightning fast voiceovers, because I didn't get any superpowers. So I might as well get some branding.
And for the listeners, this is our 8th time recording this, because she zaps out.
Oh yeah, just mid sentence, just glitch out. Yeah,
I'm just kidding. No, this is our first try.
Oh,
So I guess you're next.
all right.
What's our next scam?
Next was something that I thought sounded very, very appetizing, like a sweet little candy,
Mm.
a melon drop. A melon drop.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a drink.
It is actually with Midori, and it's a very sweet drink, though. But anyway, this has nothing to do with cocktails and everything to do with bumping into someone on the street. So the way this works is the scammer has an expensive item, and they are going to cause or pretend that their mark has bumped into them and make them drop and smash their expensive item. And hopefully the mark feels sympathetic and guilty enough that they pay for it, or the other person, the con man, gets angry enough and says, "You've got to pay me back for this." It's called a melon drop. It's gotten this moniker from watermelons in Japan, which are fairly expensive. The Japanese take their fruits very, very seriously, and they can get very, very pricey. You might have heard of these square watermelons that they created, and they're $200 a piece. That wasn't yen that I read as dollars. No, they're $200.
Wow.
And I like a watermelon as much as the next person, but I have never liked any food $200 worth. Especially if you don't get to it and it rots on the counter. That's no good at all. You also,
But I could see the convenience of a square watermelon. I mean, that's awesome. It won't roll off the counter.
yeah, it won't roll off the counter. End of list. I guess they.
I was trying to think of another benefit.
I guess they stack more efficiently.
Yes, you could fit more watermelons in the store.
Yeah. So when you in the summertime, when you see the guy with the pickup truck backed up to the main road with his watermelons, you can be like, you know what you could do? You could really improve your efficiency if you were growing square watermelons. And then he'll just tell you to shove off. But we do see this here in the States. In New York, there have been recorded incidents of this being done with expensive liquor, particularly Hennessy.
But what I love about this is that we're learning about these cons that these are the classics, right? These are the ones that that the great con men base their schemes. And remember, being a con artist, it's a spectrum, right? You could go from the far end, which is like a serial killer who's conning their victims to, for whatever bloodlust they have. Or
I assumed the high end was going to be Bernie Madoff. You went right to serial killer.
Well,
That's cool.
I think he's close to that end. But then on the other end, you have like the pickpocketer, the classic street scams. And this is kind of what we're talking about today.
The single best way to help a podcaster is to tell people about it. Your Brain on Facts is coming up on its 4th birthday and currently has total downloads just over 930,000. Can we get the show to 1 million downloads before its birthday? So here's what I'm asking. Share the show, share episodes, social media posts, post a fact that you really like, do it in writing on Twitter or on video on TikTok, but include the hashtag MoxieMillion. Hashtag MoxieMillion. And throughout the next 6 weeks, I'm going to be watching that hashtag and randomly choosing people to send swag and prizes to. So you can win some cool stuff helping the podcast get to 1 million listens. Share the show and use hashtag MoxieMillion.
And now a word from our sponsors.
You made it through the holidays, but now we have to slog through the winter when it can be really hard to take care of yourself. Fresh fruits and vegetables tend to leave our diets, and we're just not getting the vitamins and antioxidants we need. Luckily, there's Sambucol. Sambucol is the original black elderberry supplement. Now, I'm kind of a big fan of elderberries. We have an elderberry tree that we planted just outside our front door. Black elderberries are a natural source of vitamins C, E, and A, and have more free radical-fighting antioxidants than cranberries, blueberries, or pomegranates. But my favorite part about it is all the different ways you can take it. They have gummies, which are super tasty and nice and tart, a syrup, which goes lovely in a cup of chamomile tea, and if you go to sambucolusa.com and use the code BRAIN15, you get 15% off your next order of $9.99. sambucolusa.com, offer code BRAIN15.
But one, let's kind of switch gears a little bit because I learned about a recent example of this scam this week, and I just thought, well, we have to talk about it, which is the vanity publication and award scam. Now, I mean, obviously, just by the name alone, you kind of get it. You have to pay to get published somewhere, or you got to pay to get an award, and it makes you look better. So this is a classic scam. But what makes it relevant to today is that, did you realize that the Golden Globes was not broadcast this year? Did you know about this?
Yeah, I heard about that, but because I have so little interest in entertainment awards programs, it did not affect my life in any way. But
well, I didn't know either.
I heard about them trying to organize it, and nobody would turn up. But it was because of some scandal from like last year and nothing to do with COVID. So I was aware that this was going on, but
I was not even aware that it was going on, because I mean, I'll watch the Oscars. Actually, I think I watched the Golden Globes because that's the one where Ricky Gervais is the host, and I just love him.
They were not ready
I love
for him.
how
They did not know what they had bought. They got a pig in a poke. They thought they were just going to get a charming
That's
Englishman,
right.
but they actually got Ricky Gervais.
That was a pig in the poke for sure. But in this vanity scam, and the way it relates to the Golden Globes, I was listening to the Daily podcast, the New York Times podcast, and they were talking about how the NBC decided not to air the Golden Globes, and a bunch of actors and agents and everybody in Hollywood was like boycotting this. And it's because the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which is the organization that hosts the Golden Globes, has been mired in so much controversy the last couple of years. Some of it is because the lack of diversity in the films that actually get nominated, and there were some really obvious snubs.
So kind of like an Oscar so white
like,
thing.
Yeah, but worse, because like in the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the people who are making this decision, there's not one person of color.
Wow.
And so, but that's not the scam. I mean, that sucks, but that's not the scam. The reason why this is a vanity pay to play type of scheme is because this has been a little known secret in Hollywood, that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has been accused of taking bribes for people to get certain nominations for certain movies to get.
One is shocked.
Yeah. And so, and it's been accepted and known in Hollywood because, you know, we're not in that world. We don't hear it, but I was just kind of surprised because, you know, I came from a television background, and
I did not know that.
I would get nominated. Yeah, and directed TV commercials and videos for a long time. And there's these things called telly. Now, telly, don't sue us, okay? Because we don't know that you're a con.
Just
or a
start
scam
every sentence
organization.
with "in my opinion," and they can't.
In my opinion, the tellies would send you like nominations all the time. Like, so if you paid, you would get a telly. It was like amazing. And we were racking up so many telly awards, and they look great. They look like Oscars, you know, like they're gold and they have wings. And after a while, you know, you run out of shelf space and you realize, wait a minute, am I just paying for this telly? Like, is this what's happening? Or am I really good? So in this industry, vanity is super important. It's a way that actors and directors validate their work, and they're always fishing for compliments, and an award is a great way to do that. So in that case, it is a scam, not the tellies, but definitely what the Golden Globes is doing. And I'm sure you guys know other people who have been falling for this.
Well, yeah.
scam.
Well, I mean,
Moxie,
there are podcast awards like that, and voiceover stuff where you have to pay to even to be nominated, and it's like, no.
You know, I don't ever tell people this, but since we're talking about it, I have 4 Emmys, 4 regional Emmys. I never tell people this because it sounds so douchey to
I'd
tell
be
people
wearing
this,
them on a giant
but,
chain around my neck. I'm still bragging about doing burlesque for George R.R. Martin 6 years ago. You want to know how much I made that night? I don't think I actually made any money.
And that is a true story, not the same night that you got.
No,
struck
that would
by
have been a
lightning,
really
right?
eventful weekend.
I could just imagine after soak that in, audience, for a second. She was doing a burlesque show for the author of Game of Thrones, for those of you who don't recognize the name. And she did not get struck by lightning that night, but that would have been epic.
Yeah, I was in a building, so it would probably have been a little bit messier than getting struck by lightning standing next to a fence milking my goats.
Okay, so wow, where were we? Oh, the Emmys. Yeah. Anyway, so the reason why I brought that up is because I am
You
proud
should
of those.
be.
That actually took a while to get, and those are not easy to get, and but not all awards are scams. But I just, I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, I'm going to introduce you from now on as my friend, Emmy Award winning Javier Leiva. In fact, I'm going to go back and redo the intro.
And I'm gonna introduce you as my friend Moxie, who got struck by lightning and danced burlesque for George R. Martin.
Well, what's funny about that, I'll give people just a quick little bit of backstory there. It was my distinct privilege to produce the only George R. R. Martin approved Game of Thrones burlesque show. We weren't the only one, but we just tripped and landed in butter. He happened to see one of the performers doing her routine from the show at a con and gave us his blessing, invited us to his theater in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So we got to go and play for the man himself. And my husband, who performs under the name Dante the Inferno, did a routine as George R. R. Martin. And it's almost unheard of to do a routine as the author and not just a character. And it's absolutely unheard of to do it in front of the person. And my husband was in weapons systems in the Navy, and he said that was the most nerve-wracking 5 minutes of his life. Lovingly making fun of this man, and he's in the back of the room.
Well, it could have been like the Red Wedding.
Yeah, they could have locked the door. And we actually did the Red Wedding at our wedding. So I'll send you the picture later. This really great. In the background of the picture is a 7-year-old girl in a rainbow dash dress, looking up at it like it's just the coolest thing she's ever seen.
And then she's going to be so bored at her next wedding.
She's like, there isn't one stabbing. I don't see a dog in a hot tub. What's going on here?
What did I just pay for? But anyways, all right. All right. So I
believe it's my turn because you were talking about vanity awards. Yeah,
that's right.
This one, the name caught me, the Baltimore stockbroker scam. And when I actually looked at it, I was like, wow, that's a lot of math. And these don't usually rely on so much math, but it's really cool math. So the way that the Baltimore stockbroker scam or psychic sports prediction scam is that the scammer takes a large pool of potential victims. So one half receives the prediction, the stock will go up. The other half receives the opposite prediction. After whatever happens, the scammer then now focuses just on the group that he was correct with, divides it by half again, does the same thing. So after several iterations, everyone who's made it through has a really good impression of this scammer. Oh, he's been right 100% of the time.
I got to be honest, I did not read your scams ahead of time because I kind of wanted to be surprised. Some of them I knew about, but this one I was completely unaware of, but I don't really fully think I understand.
Either.
The way I understood it was that a psychic will make a prediction on the final result of a game or
a horse race,
a horse race or whatever.
Anything, yeah.
Right. And you're basically betting on that. And he's taking your money, and it doesn't matter whether he's right or wrong, right?
Like, but then you just focus on the people you were right with, because you can continue to victimize them because you paid out one time, so they believe you now. You've salted that particular mine, and so the people who make it through all these various rounds of scamming, you have them eating out of the palm of your hand because they think you really know what you're doing. They don't realize.
Oh, in a boxing match, you have a 50-50 chance of getting it right, and
so they'll think, wow, you're really an expert because everything you've said has come true. They don't realize they're just 10 of the 100 who've had a good outcome. And it's just the law of averages.
Just that little slice alone is super profitable, right? He doesn't have to fool everyone. He just has to fool enough people to make a profit, which is amazing.
Yeah, it gets its name from a book called Cut and Run, where a stockbroker in Baltimore goes to different bars to predict the outcome of a Baltimore Colts game. This one doesn't have a great deal of supporting evidence in real life. It tends to actually appear in fiction more often. And it could be because of the complexity and the length of time that it requires, because when you're scamming somebody, the longer you're doing it, the greater risk of exposure you have. So this could be one that's just not used because it's just not worth the faff.
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of these are very opportunistic and short-lived. So my next scam involves vanity, again, just like my previous scam. And this one I actually had a conversation with my wife about this one yesterday, because she called me asking, she goes, hey, a friend of mine wants to put her daughter, she wants a talent agent to see if she can make it big on Hollywood or on TV. And she goes, she found this one scam. Oh, sorry. I'm already calling it a scam.
Let's call a spade a spade.
One organization. Yeah. She found this one organization that supposedly has a bunch of Disney Channel actresses that have made it and all that stuff. And you have to pay a ridiculous amount to build a portfolio, to do your first, for the training. You have to pay to become part of this talent agency. Well, hey, guess what? I was in the TV business. Real talent agencies never charge their talent.
Not up front,
because they make a cut. Not up front. They get 10% of whatever the deal they get. So for instance, let's say Moxie, I have a talent agency and you become, you're part of my roster now. You get a Disney Channel gig. It's $1 million deal. I get 10% of that. That's how the agent usually makes sense in a legitimate talent agency. But you have to be careful of these modeling agencies and these talent agencies that are promising you fame, and you have to pay for it. Now, I could make an argument that maybe an acting school could charge, and that's totally legitimate, because that is a skill that you got to learn. Yeah. But to be represented by a talent agency, you should never, ever pay. In fact, there's an FTC warning about it. Real modeling agencies won't ask you to pay for a test shoot. But here's the thing. I remember growing up as a kid, the John Casablancas and all that stuff at the mall, and they're preying on people's vanity. But these days, we have YouTube, we have TikTok. If you want to make it big in Hollywood, you know what? Create an amazing TikTok channel with great content, an amazing YouTube channel with great content, an amazing podcast, let's say about con artists or facts. And then, you know what? By creating great content, you're putting yourself out there. You could possibly, actually, that is the most realistic avenue to Hollywood these days. Not some snake oil salesman who's promising you.
And even if you don't make it big,
famous,
even if your podcast, your YouTube, your TikTok doesn't get you to Hollywood, hey, you've still built your own little media empire. I can't tell you how many people I follow where it's like, wow, okay, now he's got 5 channels and a book and he's hired staff. And it's just, but it started as like, for example, Binging with Babish on YouTube, the cooking show. It was just him in his kitchen. He just decided to turn the camera the other way around from the way everybody else was doing them. And and now he's got multiple channels and books and product lines. And man, I wish I could think of products to have with my podcast. And I never come up with any. I could come up with I'll come up with 10 for you.
Coffee table book?
Oh, well, I mean, you can get the Your Brain on Facts book from your local bookseller. Order it today.
But you see, she already has a book.
And a book. We got to do that. You got to do it. But yeah, those modeling.
I would like to write a book.
Oh yeah. You have so much to draw on. You've got books and books and books.
Except time.
But and if you need an audiobook, just let me know. I do those. But yeah, that modeling scam has been around for as long as there has been modeling, because 25 years ago, one of my younger sisters who was in cheerleading, she got a flyer for one of these and was trying to convince my parents it was legit. And thankfully, we didn't have the money to let her waste on it. But all of these places will promise you, sign up with us, give us this $500, $2,000, $5,000, and we'll get you work. Sorry, cousin, doesn't happen. Sorry for the interruption. I'm just full of surprises today. because rather than make this one into a two-parter, the rest of the conversation is going to be exclusive at patreon.com/yourbrainonfacts. In fact, our supporters like Linda, Wallet Pager Keys, Oil of Hope, Darlene, Felix, Vivia, and so many other greatly appreciated people, they actually got this episode yesterday. So you'll want to sign up for patreon.com/yourbrainonfacts to hear the rest of my conversation with Javier Leiva of Pretend. And if this week's show threw you, don't worry, back to the normal format like usual next week. Thanks for spending part of your day with me, and stay safe.